Let's just move to another story we've been focusing on since this morning and last night. And that, of course, is the tragic fact that as Delhi is suffering its coldest winter in 4 decades, today there are young children out on the street suffering from cancer and other diseases, waiting for an appointment at India's biggest government hospital, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Out on Delhi streets, not just battling cancer, but also the bone-chilling cold. This family of 4 from Uttar Pradesh has been living in the public toilet night after night outside the AIIMS hospital for the last 3 years. Their 6-year-old son Nitin has cancer in both eyes and is waiting for a hospital bed for further treatment. Raju, who works as a labourer, can hardly afford his son's medical expenses with his measly salary of 100 rupees per day. But now his younger son, just 3, has also been diagnosed with cancer. Just across the road, this government-run shelter charges 100 rupees a day, wiping out his entire salary. Raju and his family have managed to get a single bed, but only for 14 days. His focus is Nitin's treatment.
मेरे पास इतना पैसा देला नहीं है, मैं कहां से करूं? मजदूर आदमी हूं, मेरी हालत खराब है, कहां से ला के लगाऊं मैं? इन बच्चे का इलाज है जाना चाहिए, जो इनकी जिंदगी बच जावे, जान बच जावे इनकी.
Raju took a loan of 1 lakh rupees for the treatment of himself and his family. 3 years on, the treatment is still going on and the money is almost over. Interest only piling up. He has to go back to his village, get more money on board. His only hope that one day the kids are going to be fine and he'll be able to get back on his feet, work hard and pay back his loans.
For 12-year-old Chandan, living on the cold pavement is preferable to the night shelters. His father says the AIIMS shelter was so filthy, the child refused to spend even a night there.
धर्मशाला में जो रहने के लिए गए ना, तो साइड में जगह मिला था, तो वहाँ जो है कुछ बदबू दे रहा था, तो बच्चा रहने के लिए तैयार उसमें नहीं हुआ है.
A family divided, with Girish and his son in Delhi for cancer treatment, while the rest of the family, including 3 children, wait back home in Bihar. Travelling every day from the shelter in South Delhi proved too expensive. So a month back, they made the street facing AIIMS Hospital their temporary home. Meanwhile, 5-year-old Priya has been waiting for a doctor's appointment for the last 20 days. Every day, her father brings her to the hospital, meeting one doctor after another. But her treatment hasn't started yet.
इलाज अभी चल रहा है कि अभी
नहीं चल रहा है इलाज.
अभी शुरू ही नहीं हुआ है इलाज.
अभी शुरू नहीं है.
तो 20 दिन से आप मतलब सिर्फ यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं, रात को सो जाते हैं, दिन में टहल रहे हैं, केवल ये हो रहा है?
हाँ, दिन भर टहल रहे हैं, रात को सोते हैं वही.
Just last week, a man died after the doctors refused to attend to him, saying he'd come to the hospital before the appointment date. The patient slept on the footpath outside the hospital for 3 days, unattended, even as his family cried for help. Finally, the daily labourer from Bihar just froze to death.
There are hundreds of these tragic stories on the streets of the national capital. Stories that unfold the cold winter darkness when the rest of the city goes to sleep. But year after year, the grim reality of the government and hospital apathy is lost, with no permanent solution for India's homeless. In New Delhi, with camera person Manish and SP Dwivedi, I'm Sonal Mehrotra for NDTV.
Well, as I said, the State Health Minister arrived at AIIMS for a surprise check of the shelter. It's still not open. This is a shelter just promised last year to the Delhi High Court. He says it will now open soonest. India's Health Minister also spoke to the AIIMS Deputy Director. But this is a problem that just won't go away. Part of it, of course, also the sheer overload of patients, but also part of it is how we deal with poor people. Joining me tonight, I'm joined by Kiran Walia, Minister of the Delhi Government in charge of Women and Child Welfare. I'm also joined by Dr. Dave. Now, he, of course, was the former head of AIIMS and he's seen these problems firsthand and has supervised the building of 2 shelters. He's now the chairman of the advisory board of a private hospital, Rockland. I'm also joined by Harsh Mandar, who has worked with the homeless in Delhi for years now. And of course, joining me from outside the All India Institute of Medical Sciences is Sonal Mehrotra, with the representative of an NGO of the Uday Foundation, that's Rahul, who's been working with NDTV in collecting blankets specifically for children and patients outside AIIMS and Safdarjung Hospital. Kiran Walia, let me go across to you first. This is a problem that happens every year in New Delhi. Specifically, I think there's so many issues of the homeless, but I think there can be nothing more sad than a child with cancer sleeping outside in the cold at a time when Delhi is shivering. How is it that the state government cannot provide them with some kind of shelter?
You'd appreciate that, AIIMS is a hospital which is not run by Delhi government. However, we in Delhi do feel very sensitive about it. It's not that everyone is saying that it's not our responsibility, but Delhi government had put up a shelter just across AIIMS hospital. I wonder if they were talking about the shelter run by AIIMS or a shelter run by Delhi government, which is the Delhi Urban Services Improvement Board. However, you know, this Delhi government has been trying and battling. All our temporary shelters have been converted into permanent shelters. Now there are no shelters which are just for winter, so that there is no confusion that when winter has the onset of winter, there are no shelters available. With keeping this in mind, the shelters are now open 24 hours round the year. This particular shelter that you have been talking about, the health minister has visited. I'm sure that the situation has to be taken care of. But at the same time, please appreciate that what Delhi has been able to do on record, no other city has been able to do, not even in the country, not even in the developing countries around. At the same time, we have about 84 shelters. Let me tell through your channel that what is available. There are 84 temporary shelters, 66 permanent shelters. The so-called temporary shelters are called temporary not because they're temporarily open, but they're called temporary because they're not on a permanent piece of land. The land issues are there, but they will be there.
No, I've understood that, and I'm glad
Yeah.
you expressed that through the channel. But Dr. Walia, let me just a reality check on that. Let me just go across to Sonal and Rahul, who are standing outside the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Now, again, this confusion is almost similar to the confusion of who is accountable, the Delhi police, the Lieutenant Governor, the Delhi Chief Minister. What is the confusion about these shelters, considering this happens every year? Last year, the furor over a patient sleeping in a public toilet. Now they're back in the same public toilets despite High Court orders. Sonal, Rahul, why does this never change?
Well, Sonia, it's a problem that a lot of people have been coming in. There is a lot of inflow of people from across the country who come to AIIMS every year, every day, in fact, every month. So when this constant inflow increases, the Delhi, I wonder if there are any stats to actually see how many people are coming in and to that corroborate and to how many shelters we need. According to government's own figures, there are about 3 lakhs of people who are homeless, and there are 150 odd shelters. There is no way to explain how they're actually going to be able to meet it. Also, these number people who come to AIIMS is only increasing. I want to go across to Rahul now and get his opinion on this. Rahul, all these people are constantly increasing. There is no way of actually getting to know how to put them into these shelters. What can we've now, Ms. Dr. Walia says that you've opened up another shelter which is going to house around 400 other people. But is there a permanent solution we can actually look into?
The problem is that, we are talking about their opening the shelter. But why we are opening the shelter right now when the temperature is this much? Why we wait for this thing? Even the High Court pass on some order for to opening about the same thing. And I would like to tell Dr. Walia, I was listening to her. I know AIIMS is not their hospital, but AIIMS is our responsibility. We are sitting here in Delhi. I'm standing on the Delhi government road. I'm not, so it is our duty to take care of all of them. So my request to them is that, instead of waiting for this disaster to happen, there's a huge space is available in the AIIMS premises. Ma'am should speak to them and just work out some solution, because I came to know from you only that we are going to have a capacity of 100 people, and if you see 400 people are standing behind me right now, so how we are going to accommodate all of them? And then she said we need to appreciate Delhi. Come on, we are a capital of this country. We are not standing here to appreciate ourselves. We are here to do some kind of work, and we are expecting more work from them.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.